We spend most of our youth in an educational system that tests us on our ability to do well in just a handful of things. This causes many of us to grow up thinking that we lack the talent and the intellect to succeed in life, when in reality, it might be because we were simply being tested on things that we don't have an affinity for. Today, I'm going to go over the 11 abilities that exist in life. If you're someone who worries about finding their passion, watch this video till the very end because you'll gain an understanding of where your strengths lie, which will give you an idea of which direction you should go. Now, just to clarify, when I use the word ability, I'm talking about two things. These are things that you have a natural interest in, and these are things that you probably already excel at, even if it's just slightly more than the average person. It's also important to note that although natural talent exists, practice and gaining experience equates to at least half of the mastery for any of these abilities. This means that with enough effort and hard work, you can still become pretty good at any of the 11. With that being said, let's jump right into it. Starting off, we have musical ability. People who score high in this category enjoy listening to music, may learn better by listening, and have a sharp sense for what sounds pleasant to the ear. This means that they have a knack for rhythm, tones, melody, and can often memorize and replicate pieces of music quickly. If you have a strong affinity for music, then it probably means that you are good at playing musical instruments, singing, or even composing music. And although this is often a skill set that society dismisses as just a hobby, there are many career paths for people who excel in this ability. This includes becoming a music-related content creator, working on audio for films and video, composing and writing music, and working on sound design in general. Next up, we have natural ability. People who score high in this category usually enjoy spending time in nature, love plants and animals, and they understand how the different compounds and elements in the world interact with each other. This means that they have a knack for survival skills, they can identify individual plants and species, understand how animals behave, and they know how everything in nature is connected. Possible career paths for someone who scores high in natural ability include cooking, farming, working with animals, working with medicine, and even working in health, because everything related to our body is technically part of nature, and they can also work in any field related to the environment. The next category on our list is movement ability. People who score high in this ability enjoy moving their bodies, whether it's large explosive movements or even the tiniest and most fine-tuned of movements. They have the powerful ability to control individual muscles in their body, allowing them to do amazing things that are often deemed impossible for the average person. The great thing about this category is that it's heavily tied to practice. Repeating a movement literally strengthens your neurons' ability to fire in that way, which allows you to repeat that move faster and more accurately over time. Possible career paths for someone who enjoys and excels at movement are the sports, dance, fine craftsmanship, personal training, and even martial arts. Next up, we have interpersonal ability. People who have an affinity for this have a deep understanding of the relationships between people. They can quickly read someone's body language and get an idea of how they are feeling, and they are usually good at holding conversations. They understand human nature and how people interact with each other. Possible career paths for someone who has a knack for this ability include sales, creating social content like interviews and talk shows, event planning, relationship counseling, and even working in law enforcement, because they need to be able to read people. Similar to interpersonal ability is our next category, which is called intrapersonal ability. People who have an affinity for this have a deep understanding of themselves. They know how to look in the mirror to spot what needs work, allowing them to reflect and adjust. This is an extremely powerful ability that is crucial for self-improvement because the only way you can improve is if you can identify what you need to work on in the first place. Now, there aren't too many occupations that focus mainly on intrapersonal ability. It's something that helps you work on yourself, but professions like therapists, self-improvement coaches, and motivational speakers fall under this category to some degree. Up next, we have logical ability. People who fall under this category can reason well. They may have some interest in math and the sciences, but most importantly, they are interested in the truth. They act on reason more than emotion, often feeling like the correct answer is more important than what's morally right. People who score high in this category are excellent at solving technical problems and can usually predict whether or not something will work with reasonably high accuracy. These people usually make great investors, scientists, inventors, entrepreneurs. This is actually one of the few strengths that will increase your chances of success regardless of what career path you go down because it allows you to differentiate from right and wrong. Now that we're halfway through the list, I'd like to take a second and quickly tell you about how you can figure out which one of these abilities you should focus on. See, there are certain things that we grow up liking, certain things that we naturally gravitated towards when we were kids and still do to some degree. In order to see where your passions genuinely lie, you have to expose yourself to a wide range of things to see what catches your attention, which is why this episode was brought to you with the help of the guys at CuriosityStream. CuriosityStream is like the documentary version of Netflix. They have thousands of streamable documentaries and nonfiction TV shows on topics like history, nature, science, food, travel, and much, much more. By looking at their selection, you should find yourself naturally being pulled in a particular direction. Certain subjects interesting you more than others, and this should give you a good idea of where your abilities may lie. Go to www.curiositystream.com/pill to sign up for just $14.99 for the entire year. That's right, it's not $14.99 per month, it's $14.99 for the whole year, which means that you're paying close to just $1 per month to gain access to thousands of high-quality documentaries. I highly recommend you to check it out if you want to find your passion and if you want to help support the channel. Now back to the topic at hand. Next up, we have linguistic ability. People who excel in this category have a deep understanding of their language and the emotions that come with certain words. They are often articulate, and they usually have a vast vocabulary. They typically enjoy reading and listening to great speakers, but most importantly, they know how to craft messages in an engaging way, making them more influential than the average person. People who have a knack for linguistic abilities can become writers, speakers, poets, copywriters, or even translators. Up next is digital ability. This is one of the newer abilities on this list because the digital world has only really risen in popularity in the last decade or so. Most people who fall under this category are the younger generations, as they've grown up with the digital world being a huge part of their life. They have a deep understanding of how the digital world works. Social media, SEO, marketing, memes, going viral are all things that fall under this category, which is why occupations related to this ability are endless. Quite frankly, anything that can be done online requires some degree of digital ability, and the demand for people with these skills is only going to increase year after year as more and more business is conducted online. If you'd like to learn more about my experience with the digital world, you can check out a fun video about my journey, which I'll include in the description box below. Up next, we have visual ability. People who score high in this category have a deep appreciation for the aesthetics. This means they can spot what looks pleasant to the eye. They can tell which color combinations and what shapes look good. They can also visualize and imagine complex images in their head, often allowing them to recreate these images on paper. Possible career paths include architects, illustrators, animators, fashion designers, and graphic designers for all sorts of things. Next on our list is teaching ability. People who score high in this category can take complicated subjects and deliver them in such a clear way that even young kids can understand. They can spot what someone is doing right or wrong for the field that they specialize in, and most importantly, they gain a deep sense of satisfaction from seeing their students grow. Possible career paths for those that fall under this category are teaching, consulting, creating educational content, and even parenting. And finally, we have spiritual ability, which is a very unique category as it's something that almost everyone gains interest in as they age, because it's the ability to think about the bigger questions in life, like what happens after we die, what's the meaning of life, is there God, things like that. People who are fascinated by this category can become philosophers, pastors, monks, or might just spend a lot of time thinking about these things. There aren't that many occupations that require a specialty in this ability. Now, most people have an affinity for more than one of these 11 abilities, but you must figure out which one interests you the most, and then try to think about what career paths make use of those abilities. This will allow you to make a good living while doing something that you're actually interested in, which will make your work life more fun and enjoyable. Let me know in the comments down below which 3 of the 11 resonate with you the most. I'm really curious to hear what you think your passions might be. Besides that, guys, stay tuned.